Kelly Saenz was very concerned about her husband Pavel's safety as he traveled around southern Colombia, delivering Bibles into some very dangerous places. While they both knew the risks, it never deterred Pavel's desire to reach his people.
Sí, claro. Porque es que lo que
Pavel always thought there should be a change. The problem wasn't even religion. The issue is that there should be a change in the heart. Definitely, if there isn't a change in the heart, there won't be a change in the person's mentality. And that can only be done by God through His Word.
When Pavel didn't come home on the evening of November 23, 2014, after working as a motorcycle taxi driver, the young mother of two began to worry.
Él desapareció al otro día de escuchar.
He disappeared the next day. They contracted Pavel for a taxi ride service. The next day he went and took them for the ride, and he never returned. No one called. His cell phone was turned off. And so I began to worry by nighttime as he had not come home. And then by Monday morning, I started looking for him. I started calling him more frequently. I started looking in the town square. I asked every single motorcycle taxi driver. I went to every single location where they knew him.
After some investigation, Kelly found out that someone had last seen Pavel on a local indigenous reservation.
De ahí subimos otro
They gave us permission to a certain point. In my agony and desperation that I was feeling in the moment, I went to the very front where the guards were. And the man that was accompanying us didn't allow us to continue forward because he said it was way too dangerous. So by 7 in the evening, we still hadn't returned home. And at that moment, the indigenous guards called me to tell me that they had found Pavel's motorcycle.
What did you think at that point, that something bad had happened to him when you heard that the motorbike had been found?
Solamente pensaba.
I asked the Lord, "Where is Pavel?"
Later at a meeting on the reservation, Kelly was finally told what happened.
Nos comentaron que Pavel.
In the meeting, they told me that Pavel had definitely passed away. They killed him because supposedly they wanted to steal his motorbike. And they gave me the motorbike, the keys, and 2 helmets. And that's it.
Now you would find out that Pavel had been strangled with the bag that he actually had his Bibles in. And you also found out that it was the tribal leaders' nephews that killed him. And you were given opportunity to confront them. Tell me what that was like and what you said to them.
Una congregación mejor.
There was a congregation of people, and I spoke to them about God. When you're with God, you're not looking to harm anyone, not looking to hurt anyone, and not leave anyone orphaned. But once things have happened, what we should do, in this case, in my case, is share with you. I've always lived in the house of God. He has always been with me. However, with these men that were in front of me, I said it directly to them. You don't know our Lord.
Kelly has been back to the same village where her husband was murdered. Only this time, she was handing out Bibles.
Desde luego a las personas estas.
We gave Bibles to the members of the indigenous tribe. And we also sent a Bible to each of the 2 that committed this murder against Pavel. The things of the Lord are eternal, and they are of eternal quality. It is true that we can facilitate a person receiving a Bible, and it could potentially change who they are. Their lifestyle, their way of thinking, their heart, their actions. So those changes will better a family, a town, a tribe, and even a nation.
That's amazing how the Lord opened a door through the death of your husband You were dealing with your own pain, losing Pabel, the man that you loved, but your children, Linda and Israel, also lost their father. How were you able to tell them, and that must have been very difficult for you?
It's very difficult to explain to two babies that are 3 and 5 that their father wasn't returning because he died in an unjustified way. To this day, I've told them that their father was an excellent person, possibly sent from God, or maybe like an angel of God. Sometimes we rarely touch the subject because it greatly affects us. And we start crying, and we can barely speak. Therefore, it is very little what we can say about our loss. I only tell them that God is their Father. It's God who supports us, and He's the one who helps us in everything. He is the one that is looking out for us, so they definitely would never feel alone.
We're going to hear more from Kelly in a few moments. Greg, I saw you choking up there as you talked to Kelly. What was that like, hearing her story?
Well, I've had opportunity to meet her a couple of times, and I'm actually even fighting the emotion now. Because, you know, when you see a mother now having to raise these two children, and the love story between Pabel and Kelly was amazing. And, you know, I have friends, of course, in Colombia, and so Kelly's still working with them and fulfilling Pabel's dream of getting the Bibles into villages and areas where he was actually killed is an amazing story. So they're welcoming now these indigenous communities to bring the Bible in.
And can we just talk about Kelly's strength? I mean, here's a woman who has lost her husband, is raising 2 children alone, but still seeing the grace of reaching out to that community and saying, you need to know Jesus.
Well, she understands that the reason that there is this killing and this violence and this anger is because people don't have a relationship with God. And she exhibited forgiveness. You know, again, when we hear stories of forgiveness, you know, we think of people like Kelly that really, with God's help, are making this thing happen.
Yeah, well, in fact, Voice of the Martyrs and Crossroads are helping the persecuted church and handing out Bibles in the region to make sure that they get the gospel and the gospel continues to live on.
It does, you know, and tomorrow we're going to be featuring stories of indigenous believers. We're actually going on site. We're going to meet some amazing people telling their stories of the intense persecution that is coming not only from neighbors, but also family members. We'll be talking about that tomorrow and visiting them. And so Kelly had an opportunity to go visit them, and here's what she had to say.
¿Fuera posible con la parte de viviendas?
Would it be possible to help with building their homes? And also help with products, tools to cultivate the land? The tools and products that are needed to actually help with water distribution. For example, water tanks and piping, things like that. That is basically what they need. They need homes. They live in houses with poles and plastic tarps. It's really not a home. It's not secure, and when it rains, everything gets wet. Specifically, they need homes.
You know, we're adding new and powerful stories every day, and if you haven't already, hit subscribe and stay up to date with our latest content.